balance or find a way to continue to be in those businesses without carrying all the investment and all the risk that we would have to do otherwise? Seems pretty straightforward. So we thought. Reuters covered, it was one of our beat reporter at Reuters covered us and quoted us. Kodak said it will pursue, quote, alliances or other business model changes to reduce risk and enhance revenue and margins. All right, he listened to what he said. Given this environment, we are not going to be able to invest in the whole portfolio, Perez said. Quote, we are not thinking of divesting any of those businesses, he added. The next morning, the Wall Street Journal came out. And our beat reporter, longstanding beat reporter, said, now Kodak says it can't afford to keep such businesses as Kodak Gallery and its high-end digital press business, Next Press. And so I'm reading because those are direct lines from these different reporters and from Antonio. Within an hour, that quote was picked up in our commercial print industry tweet, which we're all familiar with, which means instantly it's everywhere. Blogs are writing about it. People within the printing industry are twittering about it. Tweeting, I don't know what the actual verb is. But they were out there, and that ran in Boston Print Buyers within an hour of that morning. I believe it was by 8 a.m. that was running. Our sales reps were in turmoil. This was the electrophotographic printing business is a business that's very important to Kodak. Antonio made that point over and over again in his remarks on the 4th, and yet, here the Wall Street Journal goes ahead and says this. From our perspective, what we ended up doing is replying online. So we're finding that the online realities, and Kodak's been very active in online space, that online has been able to help us manage our reputation when something like that Wall Street Journal article comes out. That was on the 5th, on February 5th that ran. On February 6th, the Journal printed a correction. After a lot of conversation, they did print the correction on the 6th. But between that story running, hitting the paper on the beginning of the 5th to the 6th when it ran the correction, we had several Twitters out via our own iDig Print Twitter feed that goes out to the industry. We had Antonio Perez himself flying back from the investor meeting, get into our studios and tape a video for our customers, for our commercial customers that went up on YouTube and it went up on our Facebook page. We distributed the link to all of our customers as well as all of our sales reps. We had industry analysts. We briefed them. They were already very familiar with us already, but they were doing blogs, so Infoblog and Print CEO Blog, directly refuted, called out the Wall Street Journal and said, how dare they say something so inaccurate. And lastly, we pressed all of this information and all of these tools to our sales force to make sure that they were countering. So although we were used to dealing with having to share bad news, we weren't so used to the media's response to said bad news. It's almost as if the folks we're working with on the other side of the divide here actually are looking for the better story, are looking for the examples. So we've found the economic environment to be challenging in that we've got a very receptive media and a very receptive online community that want to tell the bad news, that are dying for it. In fact, are apparently making it up sometimes when they have to. So I wanted just to give you a little taste of where we've been and one of the situations we've experienced recently as it relates to the economic crisis that we're facing in reputation management today.
Barbara, thank you. Interesting use of social media there, which I think is something we want to get back to in terms of how everyone is using blogs, Twitter, Facebook, and other devices to communicate more directly to the public. Let's go to Carl at Viacom.
I feel like we've been here before, the last days of the Roman Empire, when the emperor gathered all the ministers to tell them how badly it was going. He had someone juggling. So I think I'm going to be the juggler because what we do at Viacom is provide the antidote to all the bad news. You know, we make movies, we make television shows, we take you away from everything that's bad in your life. So I think you should give us a round of applause. GE does a lot of that too, so they should get some credit as well. But seriously, I think what we're talking about is brand reputation, and I like to think of it as a jar, and every time you do something good, you put, it enhances your reputation, you put something in the jar. And I think all of us have been through a period where a lot of hands in the jar taking things out, and some of us are left with a very empty jar at the moment. But some of it is, you know, is caused by things we have done, but a lot of it is just the environment that we're in. And it's very easy to lose sight and to beat yourself up and say, you know, we should have done better, and we should have done this, and we should have done that, and we should have been more prescient. And, you know, CEOs are wringing their hands about, you know, acquisitions that they made at the height of the market, decisions on real estate that they made at the height of the market, and then the market turned and everyone says, well, how could you have done that? How could you have done that? How could you have been so foolish? Well, at the time, you know, we were living in a mob mentality where everything looks foolish. At the time, we were living in a mob mentality where everything was good. And we had a lot of cheerleaders. We had the press saying, that's a great acquisition. You need to buy that real estate. You know, you need to get ready for the expansion. So it's, I just wanted to say that before we get started down the road of beating ourselves up too much, that, you know, some of this is not, you know, created by decisions actively made by management. Some of it is, but there is a pack mentality that we all live with, and sometimes it's not right. Sometimes it's just a pile-on. In terms of brand reputation and equity, at Viacom, what we do is create brands for people with really short attention spans. Okay, so we create a brand for a weekend. We'll create a brand for a season, hopefully 2 or 3, and then we'll move on and we'll create a new one. So it's an interesting way to think about the challenge that we all have, because, you know, we're going to be rebuilding brands, and it is possible if you use the tools that, you know, and sort of take this mob and, you know, incite a commercial riot, you know, in a positive way. So for Viacom, though, I mean, we're really more of a financial brand, and most of the companies here have brands that are trademarks, that they sell products under those brands, or they're very closely associated with their products. In our case, Viacom, in fact, some of our customers, and somebody who watches MTV, we actually don't want them to know that there's a parent anywhere near. So Viacom, as the parent company, we actually purposely keep us away, because it adds the fact that we need to be edgy. Our brand at MTV is quite different from the financial brand at Viacom, where we're trying to instill confidence in a shareholder, or you know, talk to another stakeholder, perhaps in Washington, who is unhappy or possibly happy with something we put on the air, usually unhappy. It is an interesting, for us it's more interesting that the overall downturn in the market has caused a lot of our reputation to be damaged. But I think that, you know, we believe that that reputation, when we do, you know, when the market does return, and I think of this as a pause before the next growth, you know, segment of our economy, that our reputation will come back. The other thing that occurred to me as I was reading the materials that were prepared for us is we're all spanked. We've all been spanked, and we will continue to be spanked for various things. This is just a real licking. This is the worst that we've ever seen, and you know, the welts are still fresh, but I think that as we move forward and we do the kind of things and we think about our businesses in new ways, it's really quite, in a lot of ways. I mean, Harvey talked about, you know, they're looking at their business in a new way.